Emerson once wrote, "Though we travel the world to find the beautiful, we must carry it with us, or we find it not." My name is Bryce Lemon. In 2009, I was 24 years old and living in Los Angeles, California. At that point, I had no idea of the events about to transpire that would change the way I viewed the world and my life. Early that year, I came to a crossroads. Coming out of a disastrous relationship, losing my job, and then facing an eviction, life hadn't left me with many options. Feeling emotionally shattered, I surrendered to the path in front of me. I made a decision, along with my sister Alyssa, to leave on a journey into the unknown. Our approach was that of idealists. We would travel to foreign lands, experience various cultures, discover hidden mysteries, seek connection. We felt that in some spiritual sense, we were all connected. Along the way, we would make friends, face our demons, and most importantly, seek a stillness of soul, something that had long left me. This is the world through my eyes. There was an anxious tension between us as we arrived in San Jose. Diving directly into the unknown, it wouldn't be honest for me to say that I wasn't afraid of what this adventure might bring. We were determined that we would see the world, but we didn't plan much past that. Sitting in the town square, surrounded by foreign voices, I began to wonder what the hell I was doing. However, after gaining a bit of courage, we decided to head north. And our first stop was the jungle. As we stepped into the jungle and excitement set in, we were immersed in an abundance of new sights and sounds. Before long, our expectations and our fears subsided, replaced by anticipation for new experiences and the unknown.
This is just the route, you know? Be like a bird or something. Pretty cool. First monkey experience in the nature. We were just walking through here, just like we have been for a couple miles now, and all of a sudden there's this huge like crash next to us, and it freaked me out.
After a few days of this exploration, a new feeling began to settle. I felt that I had uncovered something hidden inside. I began to open myself to new experiences, new ways of seeing things. This was the perfect time to meet the Malekus.
We have a special greeting. For example, how is your greeting? It's like this, right? Hello, how are you, right? Yeah. Okay. Our greeting is raise your hand and touch your shoulder like this. Kapi, kapi.
Kapi, kapi.
Kapi, kapi means hello, how are you, welcome, and pura vida. It's our special greeting. It's okay?
Okay.
It's okay?
Copy.
Copy. That's right.
But not all of the Maleku's traditions have survived. Due to the Costa Rican government's restrictions on hunting and fishing, the Malekus have turned to another outlet of expression: art. Through sewing masks and petrified wood, the Malekus have found a way to keep their culture, along with ensure their survival in the modern world. The creation process has become very much a family activity for Luis. His wife draws on the designs. Luis carves them out. She adds the finishing touches. And they are ready to sell. Even with the language barrier, Luis offered us a place in his home so we could better learn their traditions.
Hola.
The feeling among the Maleku village was very calming. Life is about family and connection.
Oh, the smash.
Too much.
Grind.
Different. The rice, chocolate. Too much. This have like 100 years.
This is 100 years. Wow.
It's very, very old.
Luis was a man of few words, but the pride he took in his people and the effort he made in being there for his family spoke volumes about his character.
You.
Me? Alright. See if I can pass you up on that.
Okay. No.
Just kidding.
However, their tribal customs were not the only thing he wished us to see. He also desired that we feel and connect with the spirit of the forest. Hidden deep within the jungle lies one of the most spiritual and important locations for the Maleku. This is Rio Celeste. Apart from being one of the most beautiful places I've ever been, this river was special. When the water reaches a certain point, its color changes dramatically into a beautiful turquoise blue. The Malekus believe that before you are to take part in any spiritual rituals, first, your soul must be cleansed in the pure energy of the river.
My culture in the tradition Maleku, this change the color of the water is like God is put here to change the energy of the people. You like a pure energy, you go to shower in this river.
And not only does the water change color, there's a volcanic undercurrent warming the water. And in some spots, it isn't just warm, it's boiling. I was impressed by the openness in which the Malekus shared these experiences, and I felt it was a great privilege to take my part. But Luis informed us that this is only one of 3 of the Maleku's most spiritual and important locations. The next being Arenal Volcano, one of the 3 most active volcanoes on Earth. Arenal is located on the other side of the lake, resting close to one of the only cloud forests in the world. And every inch of forest around it is teeming with life. Arenal Volcano stands domineering over the valley and jungle below it. Lava still flows daily, and the surrounding villages are entirely at its mercy. These are the lava fields from the 1992 eruption, which was responsible for the deaths of 87 people in the surrounding villages. The Maleku view the volcano as a god, their lives hanging in the balance and subject to its will.
If you look up on top of the volcano, it almost looks like there's water. What that is the lava is actually flowing underneath it very quickly. And if you were to step on that, you'd probably go boop, right into some nice hot lava.
It's very peaceful here. It's quite the sight. I've never seen an active volcano before. But we still had one more destination to visit before we left Costa Rica. A place the Malekus have protected for hundreds of years. Coder Lake. and they've protected it for good reason. Miguel told us that the Incas, Mayans, Aztecs, and many various indigenous cultures would travel to this very lake in order to become priests in their culture. And now Louise and Miguel are entrusted to protect it.
They come here because they use the water to purify the body, also our spirit.
But Miguel and Louise are not alone in their charge. This is Fabiana Oliveira. For the last few years, Fabiana has been assisting the Maleku in preserving the lake.
They believe about the lake is that the lake is a place where the energy of sky and earth can meet together. There are some spirit ancestors who still live in the lake, and they can relate with them. It's a very old place of peace, and the vibration of peace is very present here. There is different ways of healing, and one of the ways to heal is to find the peace outside and inside. And this place allows people to find this peace.
When the people come in our community, we see these people is like me or like my brothers or my sisters, something like that, right? You know our philosophy. We live, all the people, we are all the same.
Following a grueling 18-hour bus ride through the Andes, we arrived in the ancient Incan capital, Cusco. It is the oldest modern city that exists on the planet today. Almost all of the houses are built out of mud and bricks. Many of the people still wear the traditional Inca dress, and it is really quite a spectacular place. Sacsayhuaman was the first of the Incan sites we visited. Before the Spanish conquered Cusco, the Inca capital was built in the shape of the puma, one of the Inca sacred animals. Sacsayhuaman was the head of the puma. It's composed of massive boulders, some more than 12 feet tall. How the Incas moved them to the top of the mountain overlooking Cusco is beyond me. The stones are also marked with unique ridges, something I've never seen before. Sacsayhuaman marks the very center of the Incan Empire. Built into the side of a rocky hill and overlooking a valley of graves a few miles outside of Cusco was the Lunar Temple. Within this cavern lies an altar where animals were sacrificed in the moonlight to appease their god. The mark upon the wall is a depiction of a snake, one of the 3 sacred animals representational of Mother Earth. The Lunar Temple represents a foreboding and interesting remnant of the Inca past. Little did we know the grueling path lying before us as we departed into the Andes. The surreal quiet of the mountains was soon to be our only companion. Here, solitude was a way of life. Quiet, a way of being. A small piece of the world still untouched by modern influence. All that remained were the necessities of life, simple and in a way elegant. And for the first time in a long time, my mind was quiet. The Andes stand as a protector, shielding life from human complexity. I never would have guessed the physical demands of trekking through the Andes. From towering mountain peaks to expansive jungle that stretches as far as the eye can see. And throughout this journey, our main obstacle remained ever present, the Salcantay Pass.
We are standing at 4,600 meters, which is what, like 12,000 feet?
Pretty damn high.
Yeah. That was a hell of a hike, but we're here. Yay.
Good, good, good. Congratulations, all right. Congratulations. In the Incas time, the Incas built the houses, the town, close to mountain because they want a protection of the mountain. The mountain was a protector of the town. But now, in these times, the people from Mollepata has two religions. Inca religions and Catholic. But in every town, always there is a biggest mountain. And this mountain means Apu. Apu means God.
We were at the top of the mountain, now we're like at the bottom.
Lacking an opportunity for education or employment, teenagers leave small villages for larger cities. Only the young and the old remain. I found it to be sad that their way of life would soon be obsolete due to the rapidly changing face of the world. But soon, all must make their departure. The trail continued along the river for 2 days, and at this elevation, it was an exhausting trek. These days were full of meditation. Without distraction, my thoughts drifted from personal ambitions and desires. In fact, they seemed completely insignificant. The dance of life was fulfillment enough. Eventually, we reached our destination. Machu Picchu was even more beautiful than I had imagined. An ancient city set against an awe-inspiring backdrop, and one of the few sanctuaries the Incas kept secret from foreign invaders. There seemed a magical quality that I have felt in very few places, as though out of a dream. The accomplishments of the Incas in astronomy, agriculture, and mathematics are impressive. A working irrigation system flows through the center of the city. Microclimates allow the Incas to grow any type of crop, marking a huge innovation in human ingenuity. This is the Sun Temple, counterpart to the Lunar Temple in Cusco. It's the most important and sacred temple for the Incas. On specific days of the year, such as the winter solstice or summer equinox, concentrated beams of light would be directed through its windows as the sun rises over the mountains.
This window is facing to the sunrise of winter solstice, also is facing to the constellation the Southern Cross. You know? So definitely this was for astronomical purposes. So the Incas used water mirrors where they can see the sun with a reflection. But not only the sun, the moon, the stars, the eclipse, the constellation. But if you see straight to the sun, I think it will be really difficult if you see without sunglasses, right? But with a reflection, you can see how exactly the sun looks like a coin.
The Incas believed that the presence of certain birds were omens from the gods. It seemed a presence was near that day. With cobblestone streets beneath me and the medieval setting of Toledo's castle walls, I couldn't help but feel a bit like Don Quixote on a grand personal adventure. Europe was the land of artists, philosophers, innovators, and its influence is felt at every corner of the world. home to artists like El Greco and Miguel de Cervantes. It was easy to imagine how inspiration was derived from the sleepy yet enchanting town of La Mancha. The first time I experienced a European cathedral, I was in awe over the meticulous detail and craftsmanship achieved. Such devotion and precise skill seems almost a lost art. But their dedication is not without merit, as their artistic achievement will live on for centuries to come. When reaching France, a fatigue set in. We've been traveling for nearly 3 months.
We're in France and we don't have anything to say.
With days missing a sense of purpose, things took on a reflective quality, like watching the world through a glass. Beginning to run low on funds and feeling a need for rest, Alyssa and I decided to find work. This took us to wine country. When all the daily noises disappeared and nature became my only friend, the earth itself seemed to take on its own personality. It began to speak with its own voice, whispering amongst the shadows and the dancing leaves. I found the quiet to have a soothing quality, almost as if death himself had passed through, liked it, and decided to stay. Interactions only seemed at a distance, and although surrounded by incredible beauty, an incredible loneliness set in. Isolated from the world, I felt myself begin to disappear, and these pangs of the void still cut too deep. Paris was the perfect escape from our silent life. I felt an unmistakable romantic air walking the streets of Paris. Very few cities have inspired so many artists, poets, and lovers. Iconic sites and monuments stand majestic in the skyline. I was inspired by the Parisian spirit of freedom, creativity, and passion. Challenging thoughts find their welcome, and the human spirit burns at its core. Another life would seem well suited within these streets, with nostalgic thoughts and idle days. Versailles, in many ways, represents the aesthetic achievement and also decadence of high European culture. Squeezing his struggling country for its last resources and bankrupting the nation, King Louis built this shrine to himself, claiming to be the reincarnation of the sun god. This palace of kings and emperors shows the scale of indulgence taken by individuals throughout history. Versailles was the tipping point for the bloody French Revolution, which would not be the last of dark days in Europe. Work is liberating, or so the Nazis claimed to their captives. The whole ride to the camp, I had a sick feeling in my stomach. And even then, I didn't know the effect this day would have on me. This place was built to keep its demons in, and there was no escaping that. Surrounded by walls, barbed wire, and guard towers on every side, there really was no escape. With the neat arrangement of houses and daily population of tourists, it might be deceiving at first. But the Earth doesn't forget the death of millions as easily as our human senses. The energy of these grounds is undeniably shaken, like the screams of the 1.5 million souls begging for an ounce of mercy. Auschwitz II was even worse. Towering electric fences stretch around a complex for what seems like miles, the sheer size and scale realistically portraying the awful truth of how many were killed within its gates. Trains would arrive here from across Europe. Upon arrival, everyone was taken into this building. Here they would strip their clothes and remove their belongings. Everyone would carry their things until they reached the steam washers. This is the last time they would ever see their personal effects. And here's where they would separate from their families. Their living conditions were haunting. This is Kill House 1, one of the first places to go down when the Nazis began their retreat. Kill House 2 looks similar. But if there was one shimmering moment of light in this dark place, it is Kill House 3. During routine execution, several prisoners smuggled dynamite into the kill house, detonating it and rendering the house out of commission. This selfless act saved the lives of countless individuals. This lake marks the final resting place for thousands, their ashes tossed in after execution. A memorial tablet lies with cautionary words. Forever let this place be a cry of despair and a warning to humanity, where the Nazis murdered about 1.5 million men, women, and children, mainly Jews, from the various countries of Europe. Somewhere deep-rooted within humankind is a violent and destructive nature. Auschwitz remains as a scar, reminding us of one of humanity's blackest nights. When we got to Romania, we were faced with an interesting dilemma. We had no place to stay. With no vacancies at the local hostel, we were surprised when several locals invited us into their home. We spent the next several days in their company. Romania is a country still recovering from its time behind the Iron Curtain. For many Romanians, the best escape is into nature. I find something comforting in the unpredictability of nature. Nature is independent, it follows its own path. Life is fragile within its grasp. But because of this, every step remains new. Every breath is more alive, and every moment can be transcendent. Their lives seemed overshadowed by the vast quiet of their country. They took us in with open arms, and while now I struggle to remember their names, their kindness left an impression that will never leave me. It is a country marked by obvious pain, a pain content with sleeping in their hills. Eastern Europe still feels haunted by its many demons. The St. Vitus Gothic Cathedral shadows over the otherwise fairy tale-esque castle of Prague. It holds the tombs of Bohemian kings and Holy Roman emperors. The name St. Vitus is used very strategically. It is said, in order to convert his subjects to Christianity, the Duke of Bohemia named it after a saint whose name closely resembles a Slavic deity. This church represents a triumph in Gothic architecture. The St Nicholas Cathedral is one of the most spectacular aesthetic achievements I've seen. Its beautiful composition of gold with pink marble gave it a unique feel among the surrounding Gothic structures. And it was here that we made an interesting discovery. Just outside the cathedral, and surrounded by images of Christendom, lied an ancient symbol, one that dates back through multiple civilizations, the all-seeing eye. Found both inside and outside of the cathedral, we began to notice an interesting pattern. It was everywhere. From geometrical patterns found in ancient Greece and Egypt, to obelisks, pyramids, and astrological clocks. The geometrical patterns even showed a mathematical progression, progressing from a 3 to a 4 to a 5-based system, with the eye at the center, very characteristic of ancient Greek and Egyptian geometric systems, compelling evidence of a link between cultures. There came a point where we began to tire of Europe. While surrounded by some of the greatest achievements in architecture and artistic expression, the once excited feelings of daily adventure took on a quality of dullness among these remnants of the tired past. But every time that I drifted with these feelings of apathy, something amazing would happen. While buying our lunch for the day, I felt this pulsing vibration coming from down the street. It was a minute before I realized that this vibration was music. What I experienced was one of the most unique and dynamic performances I've ever seen. I've wanted to visit Italy my entire life, not only for the vast array of historical significance, but for the contributions to the arts and the vibrant culture. Here, some of the greatest minds to ever live paved the way into the modern world. And set a new bar for scientific, social, and artistic achievement. But even during the Renaissance, there was a domineering influence always lingering overhead, whose focus always seemed a bit darker than intended. From this very building, and in the name of God, crusades were ordered and inquisitions were carried out. For me, there is no wonder that with such intent focus on death, that mass violence resulted. Wielding this kind of power to this end, I feel is a far cry from the teachings of a humble man from Nazareth. Because of this, I find it difficult to see his transcendent qualities. When we arrived at Blood Lake, I was stunned. I didn't know that such magical places existed. Situated at the foot of the Julian Alps and often overlooked by tourists, this quiet mountain lake became our sanctuary. And it was here, in the quiet solitude of the mountains, I realized that as far away as you may run to get away from your problems, they have a tendency of following you. Even among all of the simple beauty surrounding me everywhere I looked, I felt completely alone. I was gripped with a fierce anxiety. I felt abandoned, forgotten, discarded by life, love, by God. My personal insignificance, when compared to the world's scale, seemed overwhelming. And life and death would play their parts without my regard. We stayed in Slovenia for several weeks. I left with a heavy heart. It seemed fitting that while standing on the Philosopher's Mount, I should experience my own long dark night of the soul. It was from this hill and this view Socrates would gather the youth of Athens and corrupt them in the manner of seeking personal truth. Truth that was said to dishonor the gods, and Socrates would not be the first or the last. The influence of ancient Greek thought and culture is difficult to overstate. And the influence this country had on me will never be forgotten. We arrived on the island of Crete 3 weeks before we would journey into Egypt. And so we waited. Crete is the home to the Temple of Minos, the mythical home of the Minotaur, the Labyrinth, and the Temple of Truth. The Temple of Truth is said to be a place where all secrets rise to the surface. There is no hiding from it. Here, in this shadow of the ancient world, was the silence of God more evident. I felt that his presence was simply not there to be found. This feeling persisted until a dawning realization washed over me. Nature takes no direction. An eagle doesn't ask permission to fly. My own peace could only come from the depths of my own heart. God remained in his silence, but I took comfort in that. Stepping into the streets of Cairo was like stepping into another world. At first, Cairo seemed almost overwhelming to the senses. But it soon revealed itself to be an exotic and beautiful city in its own unique way. The mosques were beautiful, with fine craftwork and exquisite detail. And their devotion to their religion, intriguing. Salah al-Din's citadel sits upon a hill visible to most of the city, and within its walls is one of the most amazing spectacles I've ever seen, adorned with light from the ground floor to the vast ceiling dome. The Giza Complex is a miraculous sight by any definition. The Great Pyramid, standing well over 400 feet tall, is a testament to the sophistication and accomplishment of the ancient Egyptian people. It has stood the test of time through floods, wars, and invading armies. Located where the unforgiving and expansive Sahara touches the buzzing Cairo metropolis, the pyramids represent much more than just an impressive sight. The astronomical and mathematical correlations are too perfect to be ignored. Originating from an ancient well just outside the city, a perfect Fibonacci spiral extends out and crosses precisely over each of the pyramids. Within the Great Pyramid itself, shafts extend from both the King's and Queen's chambers towards the constellations Ursa, Major, and Minor, Orion, and Sirius. It was within mathematical patterns like these that the ancients buried their secrets. The Sphinx is believed by many archaeologists to be one of the oldest structures on Earth. Predating even the pyramids, it is now a centerpiece of great debate due to distinct watermarks on its side, which date it back before most current historical timelines. Its mysterious look has captured the wonder of millions, including kings and emperors, while its mythological treasures remain hidden from the world. Step away even a few hundred meters, and you'll experience a real slice of Egyptian life. Children play in the streets, men do their daily work. Smiles are not uncommon. The realization was really beginning to set in, that it doesn't matter where you go, we all want the same things.
My name is Rami. I am age also is very important, my age or not? Maybe you found somebody for me. Welcome to Egypt any time. And even I am there or another people is there, I hope you found somebody. Do it what we're going to do it. And good luck in your life. And we hope this second as beginning relationship, it will work a longer time.
Luxor was my first experience of the Nile temples. And as I walked in the shadow of its pharaoh sentinels, I felt I was entering an ancient world, full of mysteries and hidden knowledge. There are many theories, stories, and hypotheses concerning the ancient Egyptian way of life, but there is one legend that I find particularly interesting. The ancient Egyptians believed in the immortality of man, and they saw this as an evolutionary process. Because of this viewpoint, a system of schools was established. They were called mystery schools. These schools were established by the gods, showing man his evolutionary path into immortality. These schools were marked by the symbol of the Eye of Horus. The right eye representing the male aspects, and the left eye the female. These symbols were not meant to represent gender, but the male and female aspects of the individual. Each of these temples were built on the Nile, it being the backbone of Egyptian life and prosperity. The temples start at Abu Simbel, up to Komombo, Medinet Habu, Luxor, Karnak, Abydos, Dendera, and finally back to Giza. Each of these respective temples would be associated with certain aspects of human nature, dealt with directly in order to achieve mastery of self. At Komombo, there were specific tests designed to force an individual to deal directly with their fear of death. Medinet Habu would focus on the ego. Abydos was probably my favorite of the temples. Here, the gods themselves instructed men in breath control and energy pathways. Thoth and Horus show this man breathing techniques. They show him the direction his energy should move as he breathes. Osiris instructed men in a similar manner, believing that it was through breath immortality was achieved. But the most interesting thing we found was an ancient symbol, one I've been searching for all over the world. The flower of life. The meaning of the flower of life is fairly simple. It represents the source of the universe. Like most ancient symbols, many meanings are masked within its borders. For example, extend each of the outer circles and connect the centers, and you have Metatron's cube, a symbol containing all of the Platonic solids. It is said that the flower contains every mathematical relationship known to existence. It has been found on every continent, and in locations from mosques, palaces, and temples, to even Leonardo da Vinci's personal notebooks. Many of the ancients believed that the flower was also a roadmap for humanity's next evolutionary step. Wat Phra Gao, or the Temple of the Emerald Buddha, lies in the center of Bangkok, near the Chao Phraya River. This temple in many ways represents the very heart of Thai culture. Not only is it home to the Grand Palace, but it's also the center of the Buddhist faith in Thailand. Thailand is traditionally a land of peace. Most Thais live their life by saying sabai sabai, which in essence means to live your life in a space of peaceful happiness. But Thailand still has its scars. Wat Chai Watanaram, located in Ayutthaya, still shows the destruction of the past. Ayutthaya, then the ancient capital of Thailand, was invaded by the Burmese armies. They burned most of the city and desecrated the sacred images of the Buddhist faith. The heads were cut off of hundreds of Buddha statues throughout the city. But the Thai response to this destruction was unique. I was told a story about the king of Ayutthaya during that time, who instead of engaging Burma in combat, challenged them to build a tower. The nation who built the tallest tower within a given time period would be rewarded by the peaceful departure of the opposing army. The Thais were victorious. And although this story may be more legend than historical fact, it offers an insight into Thai philosophy. Peace is an option. And peace is what I felt within its gardens and ancient temples. A deep, abiding calm, without my anxieties and fears. Finally, I felt able to simply bask in the surrounding beauty. Finally, I felt free to truly experience silence. There are two parts to Japan, the ancient and the modern. It is a country endowed with a culture rich with history. From the ancient Bushido and samurai to one of the leaders into the modern world. But when you step away from its large cities, you find the ancient spirit of the land still lives and breathes. The temperament of the Japanese is very respectful, very quiet. Their demeanor is one that speaks when spoken to, but not opposed to conversation. This is Shumju, owner of the guest house Naramachi in Nara. It wasn't long before I realized we were kindred spirits.
Many original craft or original design or original thinking, many philosophy start from Nara. Shinto, Buddhism, both is very important for many Japanese customs.
In Japan, the two major religions are Buddhism and Shintoism, but most find them to be complementary rather than opposing. The word Shinto comes from kami, which originates from the Chinese root Tao. It's best summarized by the belief that everything has a spirit.
We love nature. Whatever we see in stone, in the pole, in the tree, in the house, there are many places we believe there are God.
Well, I managed to get myself lost in the forest. All the signs here are in Japanese. So I was looking for a temple. The sign came up, I guess it was in Japanese. I didn't see it, so now I'm kind of out here in the middle of nowhere. Don't really know where I am. Whew, I am worn out though. I gotta take a breather. The entrance to a Shinto shrine is marked by a large gate called a torii. The torii marks the passageway from the profane to the spiritual. Here at Fushimi Inari, the most famous of the Shinto spiritual destinations, passageways are built throughout the mountain as a reminder of spiritual journey. Individual shrines are scattered throughout, each of them dedicated to various purposes, whether it be health, fortune, protection, success, or peace. Near the entrance of every shrine is a fountain. It is used for the purification ceremony called tamizu. Purification is viewed a bit differently than in the Western world. Impurity isn't viewed as wrong, but simply out of touch with kami. It is not as much a cleansing, but a return to the inner world, to innocence. In tamizu, both hands are washed along with the mouth. Following the ceremony, one is ready to enter into the shrine to pray. Hands are clapped together in order to call the gods near. Philosophically, Shintoism is less concerned with death and the afterlife, and more specifically focused on life events, such as marriage. Buddhism in Japan didn't arrive until the 8th century, when Zhanjin Weizhou, a Chinese monk, finally arrived after 6 disastrous attempts at sea. Nara, then the ancient capital, became a foothold for the Buddhist tradition. Here at the Yakushiji Temple just outside Nara marks the birthplace of Japanese Zen. Within this complex are 2 pagodas, Nikko, which represents the sunlight, and Gakko, which represents the moonlight. And appropriately, the main hall rests in the middle. In Buddhism, as well as most Eastern religions, good and evil exist as more shades of gray. They see them both as 2 parts of the whole. Order and chaos serve as a balance. And while in life the pendulum swings to both extremes, if it's allowed to come to rest in the middle, something new can be discovered, something transcendent. In Zen, the followers take the Dharma a step further. Instead of relying on knowledge, followers of Zen believe that enlightenment only comes from existential experience. Therefore, every action becomes holy. Enlightenment can spring out of any situation and in any moment, just as Lao Tzu was transformed by the falling of a leaf. The Art of Bonsai is one of the many Zen practices. Each decision must be made with great meditation. Every action is ultimate, and as in life, nothing can be undone. The rock garden represents a microcosm of the Zen mentality. This particular garden at the Ryoanji Temple was created by the Zen monk Tokuhu Senketsu about 600 years ago. It consists of only 15 rocks and white granite pebbles. All designs are raked out completely. It is representational of nothingness. The idea is that the visitor brings all images and ideas with him. This garden allows one to see the thoughts and baggage being carried around. When these ideas are dismissed, what remains is calm and tranquility, an undisturbed inner landscape. When reaching this point on the journey, I felt empty, transparent, clear, but whole. I feel there are few mysteries to the human spirit. Life is actually very simple. To live a meaningful life seems more a matter of choice than circumstance. And when ideologies cease, we are not very different at all. I began with many preconceived notions, all of which were proven false. This journey wasn't about unlocking the mysteries of the pyramids, solving the Sphinx riddle, or even proving a universal connection. It was a journey back to myself. The Buddha said, our way of being should be as the lotus flower floating upon the river of life, unaffected by the turmoil around us, but embodying beauty. And beauty only comes from within. I no longer meet strangers, but old friends. I don't see differences, but common ground. Like gazing into a still pond, I see you, I see me, and whatever distances separate us only exist within. Even as I'm speaking these words, the real power remains in the silence. And if you're quiet enough, you'll feel the beating heart of the universe.